Alright. Today we are going to see about purpose of psychological assessment and its principles, ethical responsibility in an assessment. This is Ramesh, assistant professor from the Department of Psychology. Purpose of a psychological assessment. Let us understand why psychological assessment is done. The first purpose of a psychological assessment is to understand individuals clearly. Every person is unique and every person is different. Assessment helps us to identify a person's strength, weakness, and ability behavior pattern. For example, a student assessment shows strong memory skill but weak attention skills. This helps us to understand and help us to support the individual properly. The second purpose is to guide decision related to intervention, support, or placement. Based on the assessment result, psychologist can decide what type of counseling he or she needed, whether a special educational support is required or a person's is suitable for a particular job role. For example, if assessment shows high stress and low coping skills, stress management intervention can be planned according to that. The third purpose is to predict a future behavior or performance. Assessment helps us to make an informed prediction such as academic success, job performance, adjustment to lifestyle situations. So psychological assessment help us to professional to take a responsible and an informed decision about a person by the assessment. Principles of assessment. Let us understand the basic principle that makes an assessment effective and trustworthy. The first principle is standardization. Standardization means that the test procedure, instructions, and scoring are same for everyone. This ensures fairness and avoid biases in the assessment. The second principle is reliability. Reliability means the assessment should give consistent result. If the same test is given under the same condition, the result should be similar. For example, an intelligent test should give a very different score each time without a reason. The third principle is validity. Validity means the test should measure what it claims to measure. An intelligence test should measure intelligence, not memory or language or aptitude, and so on. The fourth principle is cultural and linguistic sensitivity. Assessment must respect cultural background, language difference. Ignoring a culture can lead to wrong judgment. So an effective assessment must follow all these steps and to be fair and appropriate. Role of a psychological assessor, psychologist or an assessor. Assessor play a very important role in a psychological assessment. The first, assessor must be properly trained. They should know how to administrate the test, how to score the test, how to interpret results correctly. The second, assessor must have critical thinking skills, ability, not just about reading the scores. The assessor must combine test result, interview informations, observational data to get a complete understanding about the individual. The third, the assessor must be based interpretation on a scientific evidence, not just about a personal opinion or an assumptions. For an example, a low score does not always means low ability. It may be due to anxiety, poor test condition. So the assessor must think carefully before concluding an interpretation about the person. Ethical responsibility in assessment. Ethics plays a very important part in psychological assessment. The first ethical responsibility is to obtain informed consent from the subject. This means the individual must know why assessment is done, understanding how result will be used, agree voluntarily. The second responsibility is to maintain confidentiality of the information about the subjects or an individual. Assessment results are private. They should not be shared without the permission of the subject. The third responsibility is using the test for validation purpose. A test should be used for an age group. It is not designed for a population. It is not just validating on an ethical assessment, protect the rights, dignity, and well-being of an individual. Summary of the topics. Let's summarize what we learned. Psychological assessment is broad, scientific process. It used multiple tools, multiple source of informations like case study, observation, non-verbal cues about the persons, multiple source of information and a professional judgment. Testing is a only part of an assessment. True assessment requires interpretation, reasoning, understanding the individual context, why he behave in a certain way and what makes him to behave in a certain way. Psychological assessment helps psychologists to understand behavior deeply, planning interventions, and providing a meaningful and practical recommendations. So assessment is not just about labeling this or that. It is about helping the people effectively. We do help you to understand the importance of an assessment, principles of an assessment, and a professional role during the assessment, and what are the ethics that a psychologist need to follow during the assessment. So thank you for your time.